ISIL is a tyrannical terrorist group bent on destroying our way of life and imposing their own twisted ideology, plain and simple. They had an early mystique for some, which came from the false notion that they were establishing a state. But ISIL brutalized its own people, and what few services they did provide were financed through the seizure and taxation of peaceful cities and the illicit sale of stolen oil. In August, our Syrian partner force, the Syrian Democratic Forces, liberated tens of thousands of people from ISIL in the strategically important city of Manbij. Last month, they started operations to isolate RAQQA, ISIL's self-proclaimed capital. So far, they have liberated more than 800 square kilometers on their march toward the city. All told, almost 3 million people and more than 44,000 square kilometers of territory have been liberated from ISIL in 2016. The coalition's main effort remains to liberate ISIL's twin capitals of MOSUL and RAQQA. The liberation of these cities will largely dismantle ISIL's physical caliphate, which is a necessary step in the group's ultimate demise. Several thousand fighters are marching towards RAQQA right now, many of them from RAQQA or the villages and towns on the way to RAQQA.
We've been able to assist the Iraqi security forces to move forward on every axis of advance. And we've dropped more than 3,700 bombs and missiles and artillery shells and rockets on Daesh targets in order to assist the Iraqis as they advance. The Iraqis have said all along, they've been planning a very long time for this battle, that the protection of civilian life is their #1 priority. And so they've conducted the battle in a manner that's very careful to protect civilian life. And we have followed suit using our strikes with precision only in order to take out these targets from Daesh. And this has resulted in hundreds of Daesh fighters being killed. Their fighting positions have been removed. We've hit more than 50 of their vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices, and we've destroyed 77 of the tunnels that Daesh has dug below the city. Daesh have been in that city for about 2 years now, and it's going to take a very difficult battle in order to push them out. What we will do is we'll arm and equip and train our Syrian Democratic partners, and we will work with our allies, and we'll conduct our strikes This is airstrikes and artillery and rocket strikes in order to eliminate Daesh targets all along the way. It'll be very tough fighting. It may take a number of months in order to liberate that city, but ultimately that city, which Daesh consider their capital, it will be taken away from them by our partners, and we will be there to assist them every step of the way.
We're not limited on where we can go. So we accompany our partners to a certain level where we have authorities to accompany them. We accompany wherever the partner goes. So if at some point a partner, we're typically paired up with partner commanders and their headquarters, their forward headquarters, their battlefield headquarters. So if those battlefield headquarters are outside of Mosul, that's where coalition forces advisors are. If their battlefield headquarters move into Mosul, which at some point it would be logical that they would as we continue to clear Mosul, then coalition force advisors will accompany them there. They will accompany our partners wherever our partners go to fight Daesh. We believe that it includes some armored vehicles and various guns and other heavy weapons, possibly some air defense equipment. Basically anything they seize poses a threat to the coalition. But we can manage those threats, and we will. I anticipate that we'll have opportunities to strike that equipment and kill the ISIL that's operating it soon. We're watching that, and as soon as we have an opportunity, if the Russians in the strike it, we will. What we refer to as vetted Syrian opposition. Those fighters have largely operated over there south of the Turk border, down through Dabiq, and they have helped the coalition, and to include Turkey, in liberating large areas of northern Syria there that I referred to in my opening statement. The other group that we've trained is the Syrian Arab Coalition, which is an Arab component of the Syrian Democratic Forces. And we've trained both of those. They're distinctly different forces. We've trained both of them. So I'm not going to give you specific troop numbers out there, coalition troop numbers on the battlefield, because that's just information that the enemy's probably watching this press conference, and I don't want him to know. There are several hundred out there, and we're going to add a couple of hundred more. And yeah, they're not just trainers, but they're also supporters of trainers, and they're also advise and assist teams. They run the whole gamut of what we're adding there. And yes, you can certainly bet that they will add to the number of Syrian partner forces that we will train as a primary task for those additional troops.
The Defense Department is progressing toward the establishment of a program to train and equip moderate Syrian opposition forces. During a press conference yesterday, Pentagon Press Secretary Rear Admiral John Kirby said coalition nations will contribute to that training.
But the vetting process has not begun yet. There's still some additional work that needs to be done, and we're all mindful of the importance in getting it, the program, getting it established and getting it running. But again, that vetting process has not yet been completely codified. There's still some work that needs to be done on that.
Rear Admiral Kirby said recent clashes between opposition forces are not helpful to the general security situation there, but they shouldn't be considered a setback to training plans.
Yes, probably double or triple the number of forces that we've already trained will need to be trained for RAQQA. It's a big problem. The Syrian Democratic Forces have not faced a challenge this great before. RAQQA is the biggest thing that we've undertaken in Syria to date, and the biggest and most complex thing. So we had a certain number of forces that allowed us to assist our Syrian partners in liberating Kobani and Hasaka and Shaddadi and Manbij. As you look towards RAQQA, it's farther away, it's a lot larger, it's a lot more complex, and it's ISIL's capital, self-proclaimed capital. So we think they're going to defend it in a very strong way. So just looking at that, it sort of becomes apparent that whatever forces we had to do the things that we had done up to that point, we'd probably need some more forces. The Syrian partners also need more forces. And so that's why I said one of the primary tasks of these additional forces will be to train additional Syrian partners. Their demand for increased forces for RAQQA is matched by our own requirement to provide additional coalition forces to support them. So the PMF are operating west of Mosul. In fact, they've been remarkably disciplined. They've been operating under the government, the control of the government of Iraq, and they've been supporting the Iraq's campaign plan for Mosul. So they have done a good job of liberating a large swath of desert southwest and west of Mosul. They have severed ISIL's line of communication from Mosul to the Iraqi border and beyond to Syria. They have linked up with the Kurdish Peshmerga north of Tal Afar, and they have seized Tal Afar Airport and are in the process of isolating Tal Afar City. They haven't asked us for a lot of support. They've been handling things out there largely on their own. We've conducted various strikes out there. I don't require a lot of justification for doing that. There's ISIL out there that needs killing, so we're killing them. And it assists the Iraqi security forces and the PMF out there in their work. Fine, good, excellent. But we're not providing direct support to the PMF out there at present. Facts are they're gaining ground every day at Mosul, and how long it will take, I don't know. It could be over. It could be over in a month or two. It could be over next spring, like you said. Not really on a time schedule, so we're just going to let it go at the pace it's on the Iraqis' pace. They're the ones doing the fighting and the dying, and so I think that's appropriate. We're here to support them, and it'll go as fast or as long as they want it to. Are we concerned about an ISIL chem bio program? Yes, we are. They have demonstrated a capability. They've demonstrated a willingness to use it. They have used chemical agents against Iraqi and Kurdish and coalition forces on this battlefield here. Fortunately, not to great effect. But so they're working on it. They have an active program, and they're working to make it better. So are we concerned about it? Yes, we are. We think the locus of that program has been in Mosul. I anticipate that they're probably going to try to move it at some point because they know they're going to lose Mosul.
I'm with Alpha Company, 39th Brigade Engineer Battalion, 2nd Brigade, 101st Airborne Division, Air Assault. So our goal for the CAT course is to train the Iraqi soldiers how to do obstacle breaching and apply it in a tactical environment. The training is going well. It's the biggest factor will be obviously the language barrier and then the culture. But bottom line is they're learning this stuff and they're applying it up north. So I've heard nothing but good things about everything that we've taught them and the ones that have gone up north.
expertise in line with your bravery to defeat Daesh with the skills needed to do the job of liberating this country of brave men like you. In Europe, we see Iraq and Iraqis as the cradle of civilization. We see you as well as a strong and solid nation that believes in its rights and works hard for it. This is some of our reasons for taking this journey of helping a nation of friends to us and to the global peace.
I am the commander of Estonian training team here in Alistair Air Base. Today we are doing squad basic training. We are teaching Iraqis basic squad formations, how to maneuver in those positions and what to do when they are getting under fire. Right now they are doing quite well. There are a few mistakes, but I think we can improve them.
Right now we are training in build-up areas, mud training, learning them how to clear rooms and approach buildings. Basically it, yes. They are a lot more experienced since the first day they got here. I have a big heart for this subject because I know a lot of these guys are actually doing this and are out there fighting. So the energy we
ISIL is a tyrannical terrorist group bent on destroying our way of life and imposing their own twisted ideology, plain and simple. They had an early mystique for some, which came from the false notion that they were establishing a state. But ISIL brutalized its own people, and what few services they did provide were financed through the seizure and taxation of peaceful cities and the illicit sale of stolen oil. In August, our Syrian partner force, the Syrian Democratic Forces, liberated tens of thousands of people from ISIL in the strategically important city of Manbij. Last month, they started operations to isolate RAQQA, ISIL's self-proclaimed capital. So far, they have liberated more than 800 square kilometers on their march toward the city. All told, almost 3 million people and more than 44,000 square kilometers of territory have been liberated from ISIL in 2016. The coalition's main effort remains to liberate ISIL's twin capitals of MOSUL and RAQQA. The liberation of these cities will largely dismantle ISIL's physical caliphate, which is a necessary step in the group's ultimate demise. Several thousand fighters are marching towards RAQQA right now, many of them from RAQQA or the villages and towns on the way to RAQQA.
We've been able to assist the Iraqi security forces to move forward on every axis of advance. And we've dropped more than 3,700 bombs and missiles and artillery shells and rockets on Daesh targets in order to assist the Iraqis as they advance. The Iraqis have said all along they've been planning a very protection of civilian life as their #1 priority. And so they've
Well, Prime Minister Abadi has been very much involved in the planning for the military assault on Mosul. He has also been very involved in the planning for the humanitarian assistance for those people who have been pushed out of Mosul because of the fighting, and also taking care of the needs of those who are left inside the city. So the United States has also played a significant role in both humanitarian assistance to the internally displaced, but we have also worked very closely as the leader of the international coalition against Daesh to provide advice and assistance to the Iraqi military, airstrikes in coordination with the Iraqi military, and a significant amount of training for Iraqi security forces. Well, actually, Allison, that's a good question. There is a lot that is being done. First of all, in coordination with the United Nations and specifically the UN Development Program, the United States and other international partners have been working with the government of Iraq to do what we're calling stabilization, making sure that people go in on the ground after areas are liberated from Daesh, reconnecting the electricity, making sure that the water works, cleaning up the debris of war where it exists, and getting the basic infrastructure of life going again. Neighborhood health clinics, schools for children, and small loans for business people who want to get their shops open again. This is, in Iraq, a relatively tested model. We have used this as the Iraqi military has liberated the cities of Ramadi, Fallujah, Beji, and Tikrit in the past. And the United Nations, the United States, and especially the Iraqi government have improved each time that they liberate a city and work on repairing the services.
The numbers of 12 to 15,000 is probably good enough. I'm not really sure it's all that important what the number was at its peak for us to know that. It's still a hard fight, and it's a dense urban environment with a 360-degree threat and 3D threat, because there's basements and tunnels, tunnels dug to join basements on city blocks, and of course you've got several story buildings there of several stories and even multiple stories in some parts of the city. So it's a very hard fight, a tough problem. Is there a time when I think things could shift dramatically? Yes, I think there is. I think that as the Iraqis close on the one remaining bridge over from the that joins the east side of the city to the west across the Tigris River, I believe that the enemy is faced with a very stark choice. If he wants to fight and die, then he's made that decision. He'll stay there. If he wants to get out to try to fight again another day, if he wants to get out to try to go back home and stop fighting, he's going to have to make that choice soon as the Iraqi security forces approach.
Do you see that coming soon?
No, I don't see it coming soon.
Just to clarify, has that happened? Are U.S. forces now accompanying in Mosul? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going to go to that level of detail. That's too much information for the enemy. I want the enemy to guess.
Well, the Iraqi security forces have done a great job. Their aggressive moves against the city of Mosul in order to liberate it are going very much according to plan. They've been able to move against the city, against Daesh, on all axes of advance, and Daesh has had no answer for their movements. We've been able to drop more than 3,700 bombs on Daesh targets. This is their fighters, their fighting positions, their weapons caches, tunnels, and vehicle-borne improvised explosive devices, all in an effort to prepare the way for the Iraqis to be able to move in and liberate the city.
The Syrian Democratic Forces, there are accusations against them with regard to the ethnic cleansing. Don't you fear from such type of problems?
Well, the Syrian Democratic Forces have proven that they're capable of defeating Daesh. They defeated them in Manbij, and they defeated them and pushed them out of 75 different villages in the northern area of Syria. We've worked very closely with them, and we've not seen any evidence of any types of abuses. We have seen evidence that they can push Daesh out of any area that they try to push them out of. And we're also conducting strikes in order to help them with their advance. We're going to work with our partners, the Syrian Democratic Forces and the local forces there, the Syrian Arab Coalition, in order to isolate RAQQA. But this doesn't preclude other nations from assisting, and we have a big tent. We welcome the support of our allies in order to liberate that city from Daesh.
The allies, the coalition said that they killed mistakenly 119 civilians. Sources spoke about bigger figures even. What is the plan of the coalition to not hurt the civilians?
Well, what you're referring to is the results of investigations that we've done in order to be transparent about our airstrikes and the manner in which they're conducted. What we do is use nothing but precision munitions, and then we try to verify the targets working closely with our partners on the ground. In Iraq, that's the Iraqi security forces. In Syria, that's the Syrian Democratic Forces. In order to verify targets and be very careful. Nevertheless, there are instances where unfortunately civilians are harmed, but we've pursued this in order to protect civilians from Daesh, and Daesh has pushed hundreds of thousands of people out of their homes. They've killed tens of thousands of people, And what we've done is we've worked very closely with our partners in order to try to defeat Daesh. Unfortunately, we're not perfect, but when we have problems or any types of mistakes that would harm a civilian, we investigate this and then we're transparent about the results. That's a key part, a key principle of the manner in which we conduct these.